So, my ladies, ever locked eyes with someone and felt your whole damn world tilt chuckles? I'm John Doe, your 58-year-old tail spinner from New York's gritty corners, here to pour a story that'll make your coffee go stale. Picture me, gray beard, whiskey glass raised, shooting the breeze like it's poker night with you gals. We're heading to Birmingham, Alabama, where Thomas Avery, a delivery guy with a past heavier than his cargo, runs smack into Maya Williams, a woman who sees right through his armor. It's raw, it's real, and it'll hit you square in the feels. So, grab that wine, cozy up, and let's roll. Drop a comment. What's your wildest spark moment? Hit that subscribe button. This ride's just warming up. Ready, here we go. The Birmingham sunset was a slow burn, spilling crimson and gold across the jagged skyline like God had cracked open a paint can. In the Ensley neighborhood, where wooden bungalows leaned into each other like old friends, Thomas Avery stood on a creaky front porch, balancing a boxed bed frame against his shoulder. At 35, he was a man carved from quiet, broad shoulders, hands scarred from 7 years in the Army Engineers, eyes dark with stories he didn't tell. His delivery uniform, a faded navy polo, clung to him, damp from the Alabama heat. The air smelled of cornbread from the house next door, mixed with the faint tang of exhaust from 20th Street. In the distance, the Sloss furnaces loomed, their rusted stacks glowing red against the dusk, a reminder of Birmingham's steel-boned past. Thomas shifted the box, checking the delivery ticket clipped to his belt. Maya Williams, 1427, Fifth Ave. Bed frame and mattress. First floor. He knocked, the sound sharp against the hum of cicadas. The door swung open, and there she was, Maya, 28, barefoot in a loose t-shirt and cut-off shorts, her hair a messy bun with strands sticking to her neck. She held a chipped coffee mug, steam curling up, her brown eyes sharp and curious, like she was sizing him up for more than just a delivery. "You, the bed guy?" she asked, voice warm but teasing, leaning against the door frame. "Thomas Avery," he said, low and steady, nodding at the box. "This for you. Unless you're dropping beds at every house on the block," she said, smirking. "Come on in. First door on the left." Thomas stepped inside, the porch boards groaning under his boots. The house was a work-in-progress, cardboard boxes stacked against the walls. A half-unpacked kitchen, paint cans in the corner. It smelled of fresh paint and something floral, maybe jasmine from a candle flickering on a side table. Maya trailed him, mug in hand, her bare feet soft on the hardwood. The bedroom was small, with a bare bulb overhead and a single window facing the street. A pile of sketchbooks sat in the corner, pencil drawings spilling out cityscapes, faces, a porch light glowing in one. "Watch the lamp," Maya said, pointing to a wobbly floor lamp by the door. "I keep pretending it belongs somewhere." Thomas set the box down, his movements precise, like he'd calculated every angle. He ripped open the cardboard, pulling out the metal frame, his hands quick but careful. Maya leaned against the wall, sipping her coffee, watching him work. The silence wasn't awkward, but it was charged, like the air before a storm. "You always this quiet? Or am I that scary?" she said, breaking the hush, her lips twitching. Thomas glanced up, his dark eyes meeting hers for a beat. "Quiet's how I stay out of trouble." She laughed, a bright, Unguarded sound. Trouble's overrated. You're damn good with your hands. Though, that frame's solid already. He allowed a faint smile. Tightening a bolt with a wrench. Comes with the job. Bet it does, she said, her tone playful but not pushy. She set her mug down, crossing her arms. Coffee's on if you've got 5 minutes. Local roast. Strong as hell. Thomas paused, the wrench still in his hand. He wasn't used to this client's offering coffee, let alone ones who looked at him like they saw past the uniform. Back in Afghanistan. He'd learned to keep people at arm's length after losing his mom to cancer. He'd made it a habit, but Maya's eyes, warm and steady, didn't feel like a threat. Still, he shook his head. Got another stop in 15. Thanks, though. Suit yourself, she said, shrugging, but her smile didn't fade. Offers open if you change your mind. He finished the frame, checked the mattress for stability, and stood, wiping his hands on his jeans. All set. Need anything else? Maya tilted her head, studying him. Not today. But if I wreck this thing, I'm blaming you. She grabbed a scrap of paper from the kitchen counter, scribbled something, and handed it to him. My number. In case I break the bed or, need more coffee drinkers. Thomas took the paper, his fingers brushing hers, the contact brief but electric. He pocketed it without looking, nodding. I'll keep that in mind. As he stepped onto the porch, she called after him. Hey, Thomas Avery. Don't be a stranger. All right. He glanced back, her silhouette framed by the doorway, the porch light flickering on as dusk deepened. No promises, he said. But the corner of his mouth lifted. Just enough. The delivery van's engine rumbled as Thomas drove through Ensley, the streets quiet except for the occasional bark of a dog or hum of a passing car. Birmingham's skyline glittered in the distance, the Vulcan statue atop Red Mountain watching over the city like a silent giant. Thomas's hands gripped the wheel, his mind on Maya, not her looks, though she was striking, but her ease, the way she didn't fill the silence with noise. He pulled the paper from his pocket, her number scrawled in blue ink, and set it on the dash. He wasn't sure why he kept it, but throwing it out didn't feel right. Back at his apartment, a one-bedroom in a tired brick building off 3rd Avenue, Thomas kicked off his boots and sank onto the couch. The place was sparse, a second-hand sofa, a TV he rarely used, a framed photo of his mom on the mantel, her smile frozen from better days. He flipped on the news, half listening as he cracked a beer. Then a breaking story caught his ear, a car accident on 5th Avenue in Ensley, just blocks from Maya's place. A pickup truck had spun out, hitting a pole. No fatalities, but the road was closed. His chest tightened, a reflex from years of loss, his mom, his squad mates, the parts of himself left in the desert. He grabbed his phone, hesitating, then dialed the number from the paper. It rang twice before she picked up. Who's this? Maya's voice was wary but curious. Thomas Avery, he said, clearing his throat. You okay? Saw the news. Accident near your place. A pause, then a soft laugh. Well, damn. You my night in a delivery van now. I'm fine. Thomas, wasn't near it. You checking up on all your clients. He leaned back, a tension he hadn't noticed easing. Just the ones who give me their number. Fair enough, she said, and he could hear her smile. You change your mind about that coffee yet? Not yet, he said, but his voice was lighter. Just making sure you are not breaking that bed already. She laughed again, bright and real. Give me a week. Thanks for the call. Night. Don't lose my number. Won't, he said, and hung up. The word lingering. He sat there, the TV droning, the beer warm in his hand, for the first time in years. Since the desert. Since his mom's funeral. He felt something stir hope. Maybe. Or the ghost of it. He looked at the photo of his mom, her eyes steady, and thought of Maya's porch light, glowing against the Birmingham dusk. It wasn't much, but it was enough to make him wonder. Outside, the city hummed, its pulse steady under the weight of history. 5 Points South flickered with neon. Sloss furnaces stood silent, and Ensley's bungalows glowed with porch lights, each one a small defiance against the dark. Thomas set the beer down, the number still on the dash, and stared out the window. He didn't know if he'd call again. But he knew one thing: Maya Williams wasn't just another delivery stop. She was trouble, the kind he might not want to avoid. Ever met someone who saw your heart in a heartbeat? Thomas Avery's world just got shook, and Maya's light's still burning. Drop your wildest meet cute in the comments, smash that subscribe button, and let's see if Thomas takes the plunge. The Birmingham night was a heavy blanket, the kind that pressed against your skin with humid insistence, carrying the faint hum of 5 Points South's neon buzz. Thomas Avery sat in the driver's seat of his delivery van, parked outside J. Clyde, a bar tucked in the heart of the city's liveliest district. The van's engine ticked as it cooled, the only sound louder than the muffled guitar riffs spilling from the bar's open door. At 35, Thomas was a man of deliberate silences, his hands still gripping the wheel, calluses rough from years in the Army Engineers and countless deliveries. His navy polo was creased, the day's sweat long dried, but his mind was stuck on a scrap of paper in his pocket, Maya Williams's number, scrawled in blue ink 3 days ago when he'd dropped off her bed frame. He'd come to fix her creaky bed, a follow-up call from the furniture store after she'd left a voicemail. Hey, Thomas, it's Maya. Frame squeaking like a damn banshee. You free to swing by? He'd shown up at her Ensley bungalow that morning, toolbox in hand, expecting a quick job, but Maya, in a faded tank top and jeans, had other plans. You're not leaving till you try my coffee, she'd said, her brown eyes glinting with that mix of tease and challenge he was starting to recognize. He'd fixed the frame in 10 minutes, tightening bolts with practiced ease. But the coffee turned into a half hour on her porch, her laughter cutting through the morning haze, when she'd suggested grabbing a beer at J. Clyde tonight. He'd said yes before his brain caught up, surprising himself. Now, sitting in the van. Thomas rubbed the back of his neck, doubt creeping in. Birmingham wasn't his town, not really. He'd moved here after the Army, chasing a fresh start. But the city's history, its sharp edges of race and class, still felt like a weight he couldn't shake. Maya was different, open, real, unbothered by his delivery gig or the scars on his hands. But what did she see in him? A guy hauling furniture, carrying ghosts from Afghanistan, waking up most nights to the echo of gunfire in his head. He glanced at the bar's neon sign, its red glow flickering like a warning, and considered driving off. The passenger door swung open, startling him. Javier Morales, his co-worker and the closest thing he had to a friend, slid in, a grin splitting his face. At 30, Javier was all energy, his Mexican accent thick, his work shirt untucked. "Yo, Tomas, you gonna sit here all night, or go get that girl? She's waiting." "Man," Thomas shot him a look, jaw tight. "Ain't that simple." "Javi." "Bullshit," Javier said, laughing. "She's into you. Hombre, don't be a dumbass and fuck it up." He leaned back, cracking open a water bottle. "What's the holdup? You scared she's too good for you?" Thomas didn't answer, his eyes fixed on the bar. Javier wasn't wrong. Maya was out of his orbit, a woman with a quick laugh and a life he didn't know. But it wasn't just that. He'd learned to keep people at a distance after losing his mom to cancer. After the desert took pieces of him he'd never get back. Letting someone in meant risking hurt, and he wasn't sure he had enough left to lose. Javier nudged him. "Look, I seen you fix shit nobody else can trucks. Furniture, my damn marriage. You're solid. Tomas, go in there and be solid for her." Thomas exhaled, grabbing his keys. "You're a pain in the ass. You know that. Part of the charm," Javier said, hopping out. "Don't screw it up. Inside J. Clyde." The air was thick with the smell of hops and fried pickles, the hum of conversation mingling with a blues band jamming in the corner. The bar was a mix of Birmingham's Pulse College kids in hoodies, old-timers nursing whiskeys, a couple of guys in steel-toe boots fresh off a shift. Maya sat at a high-top table near the window, her hair loose, a green blouse catching the light. She was nursing a pale ale, her fingers tapping the glass to the beat. When she saw Thomas, her face lit up, and she waved him over. "Took you long enough," she said as he slid onto the stool across from her. "Thought you'd bailed. Traffic." He lied, his voice low, settling in. "You order yet?" "Just drinks," she said, sliding a menu over. "Figured you'd want wings. You strike me as a hot sauce guy." He raised an eyebrow, a faint smile tugging at his lips. "You reading me now?" "Trying to," she said, leaning forward, her eyes locking on his. "You're not making it easy, Thomas Avery." He held her gaze, the bar's noise fading for a moment. There was something about her direct, unguarded, like she didn't have time for games. It was disarming, and he wasn't sure he liked it. "What's my story?" Then he asked, half challenging. She tilted her head, studying him. "Ex-military, probably seen some shit. Working delivery 'cause it's steady, not 'cause you love it. Got a heart bigger than you let on, but you keep it locked up tight." He leaned back, caught off guard. "Not bad. You miss anything plenty," she said, sipping her beer. "But I'm patient. Your turn. What's my deal?" Thomas paused, choosing his words. Ran from something in Atlanta. Artsy. Tough. But you're figuring out who you are here. Don't take shit from nobody. Her laugh was sharp, approving. "Damn. You're good." "Yeah. Ran from a guy who thought he owned me. Birmingham's my reset button." They ordered wings, the conversation flowing easier than Thomas expected her love for sketching, his knack for fixing anything with a wrench. But the ease didn't last. As they stepped outside for air, the night cool against the bar's warmth, a voice cut through the hum of 5 points. "Maya Williams. That you, Mrs. Kendall?" An 80-year-old neighbor from Ensley stood by a streetlight, her floral dress stark under the glow. Her eyes, sharp as a hawk's, flicked to Thomas, then back to Maya. "That delivery boy's here again." "Huh. Don't stir up talk, girl." Thomas froze, the words landing like a punch. Maya's jaw tightened, but she kept her voice even. "Just having a drink. Mrs. Kendall? No trouble here?" The old woman's lips pursed. "You're new." "Maya, don't mess with the wrong crowd." She shuffled off, her cane tapping the sidewalk, leaving a silence heavier than the heat. Maya turned to Thomas, her eyes searching his. "Don't let her get to you. She's just talking like half this town." He cut in, voice low, his hands in his pockets. "Ain't new to me." She stepped closer, her voice firm. "You're not that delivery boy, Thomas. Not to me." He looked away, the neon lights blurring. Her words were kind, but Mrs. Kendall's weren't wrong. Birmingham had eyes, and they judged. He'd felt it before. In the army, in the stares at gas stations, in the clients who locked their doors when he knocked. Maya didn't see him like that. But what if she did one day, back at her place? They sat on the porch steps, the night quiet, except for the distant rumble of a train. Maya pulled out her phone, video calling her nephew. Darius, a 10-year-old in Atlanta. His face lit up the screen, his voice high and excited. "Aunt Maya, you draw me that robot yet?" "Working on it, kid," she said, smiling. "You keeping your mom out of trouble?" Darius giggled, then noticed Thomas. "Who's that?" "Thomas," Maya said, tilting the phone. "He's cool. Fixed my bed." Thomas nodded. Awkward. "Hey, Darius." "Cool. You like robots?" Darius asked, eyes wide. "More a trucks guy," Thomas said, his voice softening. The kid's energy was infectious, and for a moment, he forgot the weight of Mrs. Kendall's words. After the call. Maya leaned back, her shoulder brushing his. "Darius keeps me grounded. His mom's my sister, works double shifts. I try to be there for him." "That's good," Thomas said, meaning it. "Family's everything." She looked at him, her eyes soft but piercing. "What about you? Who's your family?" He hesitated, the question cutting deeper than he expected. "Just me now," he said, voice rough. "Mom's gone. Cancer. Ain't got nobody else." Maya's hand rested on his arm, light but steady. "I'm sorry." "Thomas, that's a heavy load." He shrugged, but didn't pull away. Part of the deal. They sat in silence, the porch light casting a warm glow. Maya's touch, her quiet presence, felt like a lifeline, but it scared him too. He wasn't built for this, for letting someone in, for risking hurt. When he stood to leave, she followed him to the gate. "You ever feel like the world's waiting for you to screw up?" she asked, her voice low. "Every damn day," he said, meeting her eyes. She nodded, like she understood. "Don't let it win. Thomas. Not you." He drove home, her words echoing, the city's lights a blur. His apartment was dark, the photo of his mom on the mantel watching him. He pulled out his phone. Maya's number still saved, and saw a text from her. "Thanks for tonight. You're all right. Avery." His thumb hovered over the reply button, but he set the phone down, doubt clawing at him. Mrs. Kendall's voice lingered, delivery boy. Wrong crowd, and so did the ghosts in his head. The next morning, at the delivery warehouse, Javier was waiting, tossing a football. "So, how's your girl?" "Ain't my girl," Thomas said, grabbing a clipboard. But Javier's grin didn't fade. "Yet," Javier said, tossing the ball. "You're smiling, man." "That's new." Thomas caught the ball, shaking his head. "You're full of shit." "Javi, part of the charm," Javier said, laughing. "Invite her out, Tomas. Don't be a coward." Thomas didn't reply. But as he loaded the van, his phone buzzed a call from the store. Another job. But his mind was elsewhere. He thought of Maya's laugh, Darius's robot obsession, the way she'd touched his arm. Then he thought of Mrs. Kendall's eyes, the town's whispers, and the weight of his own past. He'd said yes to dinner. But now, with her number burning a hole in his pocket, he wasn't sure he could follow through. As he drove toward his next stop, a text popped up. "Maya dinner tomorrow. My treat." His heart kicked, but then he saw it, another text, from an unknown number, to Maya's phone, left open on his screen from her call log. "Miss you, babe. Call me." His gut twisted, the words a knife. Was she still tied to someone else? The doubt settled, cold and familiar, and Thomas gripped the wheel. Birmingham streets stretching out like a question he wasn't ready to answer. The Birmingham dusk was a soft bruise, purples and blues bleeding into the skyline, the 20th Street diner glowing like a beacon in the heart of downtown. Thomas Avery stood outside, his boots scuffing the cracked sidewalk, the neon sign above buzzing faintly. At 35, he was a man of measured steps, his delivery uniform swapped for a clean flannel and jeans, the scars on his hands catching the light. The air carried the tang of fried onions from the diner and the distant chime of bells from the 16th Street Baptist Church, a quiet reminder of the city's heavy past. His phone was heavy in his pocket. Maya Williams's text from yesterday burning in his mind. Dinner tomorrow. My treat. He'd said yes, but the unknown number he'd seen on her call log, "Miss you, babe, call me." Babe, call, had lodged in his gut like a splinter. Inside, the diner was a slice of Birmingham's soul-checkered floors, red vinyl booths, the sizzle of burgers on the grill. Waitresses in pink aprons weaved through tables packed with steelworkers, students, and old couples sharing milkshakes. Maya sat in a corner booth, her green dress catching the warm light, her hair loose in soft waves. A sketchbook lay open in front of her, a pencil sketch of a porch light half finished. When she saw Thomas, her face broke into a smile, and she waved him over, pushing the sketchbook aside. "Thought you'd ditch me," she said, her voice teasing as he slid into the booth. "You clean up nice. Avery." "You too," he said, his tone low, settling in. Her dress hugged her curves, but it was her eyes, sharp, unguarded, that pulled him in. You always draw at dinner. Only when I'm nervous, she admitted, closing the sketchbook. Keeps my hands busy. Ordered you a burger. Hope that's cool. He nodded, a faint smile tugging at his lips. Hot sauce on the side. Damn right, she said, grinning. I'm learning you. The waitress dropped off their drinks sweet tea for her. Coke for him, and Thomas leaned back, trying to shake the doubt that had followed him since last night. Maya was real. Her laugh a lifeline in a city that often felt like quicksand. But that text, miss you. Babe gnawed at him. Was she still tied to someone else? He'd spent years keeping people at arm's length. His PTSD from Afghanistan and his mom's death building walls he didn't know how to climb. Letting Maya in meant risking hurt, and he wasn't sure he could take another loss. They talked easily at first her latest design gig, a logo for a local brewery, his side hustle fixing old radios for extra cash. But the diner's hum faded when Maya set her glass down, her eyes locking on his. All right. Thomas, level with me. What's your deal? You're solid, but you're holding back. Why he shifted. The question cutting close. Ain't much to tell. Work, sleep, repeat. Bullshit, she said, leaning forward, her voice soft but firm. I see it in your eyes. You're carrying something heavy. Spill. Thomas looked away, his fingers tracing the rim of his glass. He didn't talk about it, not the desert, not the nightmares, not the way his mom's voice still woke him up some nights. But Maya's gaze didn't waver, and something in it, patience, maybe cracked his armor. Army, he said finally, voice rough. 7 years. Afghanistan. Shit I can't unsee. Lost my mom after I got back. Cancer. Been keeping my head down since. Maya's face softened, her hand inching toward his but stopping short. That's a hell of a load. Thomas, you still hear it? The war. Most nights, he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. Gunfire, screams, wakes me up sweating. Delivery keeps me steady. But it don't fix it. She nodded, like she understood. I get it. Not the war, but the ghosts. My ex, he fucked with my head, made me feel small. Took me years to stop hearing his voice, telling me I wasn't enough. Thomas met her eyes, seeing the raw edge of her pain. You're enough, he said, the words slipping out before he could stop them. Her smile was small, grateful, trying to believe that. You too, you know, you're more than a delivery guy. The food arrived, breaking the moment, but the air between them was different now, deeper, like they'd crossed a line. They ate, the burgers messy, the hot sauce stinging, and Maya's laugh at his ketchup-stained shirt eased the weight in his chest. For a moment, he forgot the text, the doubts, the city's eyes. But when Maya's phone lit up on the table, a new message flashing. Hey, it's me. We need to talk. His stomach dropped. Same number, same vibe. He looked away, but she caught it. You okay? She asked, frowning, grabbing her phone. Yeah, he lied, his voice tight. Just long day. She glanced at the screen, her face shifting annoyance, not guilt, and turned it off. Stupid spam, she muttered. But Thomas's mind was racing. Spam didn't say, "Miss you." Babe. Was she playing him? He wanted to ask, but the words stuck, his old instinct to pull back kicking in. Outside, the night was cool, the diner's neon reflecting off the wet pavement. Maya walked close, her arm brushing his, but the ease was gone. "You're quiet again," she said, stopping under a streetlight. "What's up?" He shoved his hands in his pockets, the text burning in his head. "Just thinking. Maybe we're rushing this." Her eyes narrowed, hurt flickering. "Russian. We're eating burgers. Thomas. Not picking out rings." "Where's this coming from?" He hesitated, the truth too raw to spit out. "Just don't want to mess you up. You got your life. I got mine." "Bullshit," she said again, stepping closer, her voice sharp. "You're scared. I'm trying to be real with you, but you're half out the door." He looked at her, the streetlight casting shadows on her face, and felt the pull to stay, to trust, to let her in. But the text, the city's whispers, his own ghosts, they were louder. "Maybe we need space," he said, hating the words as they left his mouth. Maya's jaw clenched, her eyes glistening but fierce. "Space. Huh. Fine. You know where to find me." She turned, walking toward her car, her steps quick, leaving him under the light. Thomas stood there, the diner's hum fading, the church bells ringing faintly in the distance. He'd pushed her away, just like he always did, but it didn't feel like safety. It felt like loss. He drove home, the city a blur, his apartment cold and empty. The photo of his mom stared back, her smile a quiet rebuke. He pulled out his phone, Maya's number glowing, but didn't call. Instead, he saw another text from that unknown number. "Why you ignoring me?" His gut twisted, doubt solidifying. Had he dodged a bullet, or fired one at himself the next day? At the warehouse, Javier was tossing a football, his grin gone when he saw Thomas's face. "What'd you do, man? You look like shit." "Nothing," Thomas said, grabbing a delivery list. But Javier wasn't buying it. "You fucked it up." "Didn't you?" Javier said, tossing the ball at him. "Maya's cool." "Tomas, don't let your head screw you over." Thomas caught the ball, his jaw tight. "Ain't that simple. Javi, she's got someone else." Javier frowned. "You sure? 'Cause she don't strike me as the type." Thomas didn't answer, loading the van, but Javier's words stuck. He thought of Maya's laugh, her hand almost touching his, the way she'd listened about the war. Then he thought of the text, the doubt, the way he'd walked away. As he drove toward his next stop, his phone buzzed a text from Lila, Maya's friend, who'd gotten his number from the store. "Maya's got an art show next week. She wants you there. Don't be a dumbass." He stared at it, the invitation a lifeline, but the doubt was a chain. He didn't reply, the city's pulse a challenge he wasn't sure he could meet. The Alabama night was a restless beast, heavy with the threat of rain, the air thick enough to choke. Thomas Avery drove south on I-65, his delivery van's headlights cutting through the dark, the hum of the engine a poor shield against the noise in his head. At 35, he was a man fraying at the edges, his hands scarred from Afghanistan, his heart bruised from years of loss. The radio played low, some blues tune about a broken road. But Thomas barely heard it. His phone sat silent on the passenger seat. Maya Williams's number, a ghost he couldn't face. 2 weeks ago, he'd walked out of that 20th Street diner. Her voice. You're half out the door ringing in his ears. The text he'd seen on her phone. Miss you. Babe had been the final straw. A confirmation of his worst fears. She wasn't his. Maybe never was. He was headed to Selma, to his mom's grave, a place he hadn't visited since her funeral 5 years ago. Birmingham had gotten too loud, Mrs. Kendall's judgmental stares, the whispers in Ensley, the weight of Maya's eyes, asking for more than he could give. His PTSD was a live wire, sparking nightmares of gunfire and sand, waking him in cold sweats. He'd pushed Maya away, telling her they needed space. But the truth was uglier. He was scared. Scared of letting her in, of breaking her, of being the man who failed again. So he ran, like he always did, to the only place that felt safe, the quiet of a graveyard, where no one asked him to feel. Selma was an hour out, its fields stretching dark under a moonless sky. Thomas gripped the wheel. The memory of Maya's face hurt, fierce burning behind his eyes. He thought of her laugh, her sketchbook, the way she'd listened when he'd told her about the war. Then he thought of that text, the doubt it planted, and the way he'd left her standing under the diner's streetlight. He'd fucked it up, just like Javier had warned. His co-worker's voice echoed, "Don't be a dumbass, Tomas." But dumbass was all he felt. Driving into the night, chasing ghosts instead of answers. Back in Birmingham, Maya Williams sat on the floor of her Ensley bungalow, surrounded by half-finished canvases, the smell of turpentine sharp in the air. At 28, she was a fighter, her strength forged in Atlanta's ashes, where her ex had tried to shrink her into someone she wasn't. Now, Birmingham was testing her again. Her phone lay face down on the coffee table, silent since Thomas's number had gone dark. The diner night replayed like a bad song, his voice. Maybe we need space, cutting deeper than she'd let on. She'd opened up about her ex, her fears, only for him to walk away. And that text he'd seen her ex, crawling back like a cockroach, she'd blocked the number, but not before it poisoned everything. The porch light glowed outside, a stubborn act of hope she wasn't sure she believed in. She'd kept it on every night, a silent promise to Thomas. But doubt was winning. Had she pushed too hard, seen something in him that wasn't there? Her sketchbook lay open, a drawing of a porch light in charcoal, its glow soft against a stormy sky. She traced it with her finger, her chest tight. She'd moved here to start over, but starting over felt like falling apart. A knock at the door startled her. Lila, her friend and a local painter, stood on the porch, her dreads tied back, a bottle of wine in hand. "You look like shit," Lila said, stepping inside, her voice warm but blunt. "Still waiting on that delivery boy." "Don't start," Maya said, grabbing glasses from the kitchen. "He's gone." "Lila, I scared him off." Lila poured the wine, her eyes narrowing. "You didn't scare nobody. He's running from his own damn self. Birmingham talks. Maya, Mrs. Kendall's out there spinning tales about you and your delivery boy. Clients are getting cold feet. Maya's jaw clenched. The news a gut punch. She'd lost a design gig yesterday. The client citing scheduling issues. But Lila's words confirmed her fear. The town's gossip was costing her work. Mrs. Kendall, with her sharp tongue and sharper eyes, had seen Thomas too many times fixing her bed, drinking on the porch, and turned it into a scandal. That old hag, Maya muttered, sipping her wine. She don't know me. She don't, Lila agreed, sitting cross-legged on the floor. But she's loud, and this town listens. You sure he's worth it? Maya looked at her sketch, the porch light staring back. He was real. Lila. Not like my ex. Not playing games. But maybe I'm wrong. Lila softened, touching her arm. You ain't wrong to want something real, but don't let him break you waiting. The night deepened, the wine bottle emptying as they talked. Lila left, and Maya's phone buzzed a video call from Darius, her 10-year-old nephew in Atlanta. His face filled the screen, his gap-toothed grin a lifeline. Aunt Maya, you draw my robot yet? Almost. Kid, she said, forcing a smile. You keepin' out of trouble? Yep, he said, then frowned. You said, where's that cool guy? Thomas Maya's throat tightened. He's busy. Darius. But I'm okay. You're the strongest, he said, his voice earnest. Don't let nobody make you cry. She laughed, tears stinging. Deal. Love you. Kid. Love you too, he said, and the call ended. Maya sat there, Darius's words echoing, and walked to the porch. The light was still on, flickering in the breeze. She wanted to turn it off, to let go, but her hand wouldn't move. Instead, she went back to her canvas, painting over the storm, making the light brighter. In Selma, Thomas stood by his mom's grave, the headstone weathered, her name, Eleanor Avery, barely legible under the starlight. The cemetery was silent, the grass damp under his boots, the air carrying the faint scent of pine. He knelt, his hand tracing the stone, his chest tight. I'm messing it up, Ma, he whispered, his voice breaking. She's good, but I'm scared I'll hurt her, like I couldn't save you. The nightmares had been worse lately. Gunfire, blood, the screams of his squad. He'd wake gasping, the past clawing at him, and Maya's face would flash in his mind, her laugh a tether he didn't deserve. He'd seen that text, "Miss you, babe," and let it confirm his fears she was better off without him. But as he sat by the grave, her voice, "You're enough," fought back. And he wasn't sure what was true anymore. His phone buzzed. A voicemail from Javier. Yo, Tomas. Where the hell you at? You ghosted Maya. Man. And she's hurt. Get your shit together and come back. Thomas deleted it, but the words stuck. He thought of Birmingham, of Maya's porch, of the way she'd looked at him like he was more than his scars. He pulled out his phone, opened her number, and hit record. His voice low, raw. Maya, it's me. I'm sorry. I ran 'cause I'm scared I'll break you. Scared I ain't enough. You make me want more, and that scares the shit out of me. I don't know if you're still waiting, but I'm trying. I'm sorry. He sent it, his hand shaking, and leaned against the stone, the night swallowing his words. In Birmingham. Maya was asleep on the couch, her sketchbook open, the porch light casting a glow through the window. Her phone buzzed. Thomas's voicemail lighting up the screen. She stirred, groggy, and played it, his voice filling the room. Her breath caught, anger and hurt crashing against hope. You don't get to run and call it saving me, she muttered. Tears falling, she threw the phone down, the message looping in her head, and walked to the porch. The light flickered, weak in the rain, and she wanted to smash it, to let him go. But she didn't. Instead, she tightened the bulb, making it burn brighter. A defiance she couldn't explain. The next day, Lila came by, finding Maya painting. Her eyes red. You heard from him? Lila asked, sitting on the floor. Yeah, Maya said, her voice flat. He's sorry. Says he's scared. You gonna call him back? Lila asked, pouring coffee. Not yet, Maya said, her brush slashing the canvas. He hurt me, Lila, but I ain't given up. Lila nodded, glancing at the porch light sketch. That's you, girl, keeping the light on, even when it hurts. Maya didn't answer, but her hand steadied, the painting taking shape alight against a storm, unyielding. Outside, Mrs. Kendall's voice drifted over, talking to a neighbor. That girl's ruining her name with that delivery boy. Maya's jaw clenched, but she kept painting. Darius's words. You're the strongest a shield against the world. In Selma. Thomas packed his van, the graveyard behind him, his mom's voice a faint echo. Be brave, son. He didn't know if Maya had heard his message, if she'd wait, but the road back to Birmingham stretched out, a challenge he couldn't ignore. The city's lights were distant, but the thought of her porch light still burning maybe kept him moving. The Birmingham twilight was a restless glow, the city's skyline smudged with pinks and grays, the hum of 5 Points South alive with Friday night energy. Thomas Avery stood outside a converted warehouse turned art gallery, his boots planted on the cracked sidewalk, the neon sign above flickering Southside Arts. At 35, he was a man carrying too much scars from Afghanistan. The ache of his mom's death, the weight of 2 weeks running from the one person who'd seen him clear. His flannel was wrinkled, his hands shoved deep in his pockets, but his eyes were fixed on the gallery's open door, where laughter and jazz spilled out like a dare. He'd driven back from Selma last night, his mom's grave still heavy in his chest. Her voice, be brave, son, pushing him here. But it was Maya Williams's porch light, burning in his mind, that kept him from turning back. He'd sent her a voicemail from that cemetery, raw and broken, spilling his fear of hurting her, of not being enough. She hadn't replied, and he didn't blame her. He'd walked away at the diner, spooked by a text from her ex, Miss U. Babe, and let doubt win. But Javier, his co-worker, had called him out at the warehouse that morning, tossing a football with a grin. You ghosted her. Man, she's got an art show tonight. And you're gonna show up, or you're a damn fool." Thomas had brushed it off, but Javier's words stuck. And Lila, Maya's friend, had texted shows at 7. "She's hurt, but she ain't done with you. Don't fuck this up." So here he was, heart pounding, not sure if he was welcome or walking into a wall. Inside, the gallery was a pulse of color and sound-exposed brick walls hung with paintings. Fairy lights strung across beams. A local jazz trio playing in the corner. Birmingham's eclectic crowd mingled artists in overalls, suits from downtown, old-timers sipping wine. Maya stood near a canvas, her red dress catching the light, her hair pulled back, a nervous smile as she talked to a buyer. The painting behind her was a porch light, its glow fierce against a stormy sky, the strokes bold, like a heart refusing to break. Thomas stopped short, the image hitting him like a fist. It was her light, her fight, the one he'd almost let go. He hung back, watching her move through the crowd, her laugh bright but brittle. She hadn't seen him yet, and he wasn't sure he should stay. Then a voice cut through the jazz, sharp and familiar. "Maya Williams, this yours Mrs. Kendall, the 80-year-old neighbor who'd called him trouble," stood by the painting, her floral dress stark under the lights. Her eyes, usually hard, were softer now, almost regretful. Maya turned, her smile faltering. "Yes, ma'am. Just something I painted." Mrs. Kendall nodded, her cane tapping the floor. "It's strong. Like you." She paused, her voice lowering. "I owe you an apology, girl. I spoke out of turn. About you and that boy. I lost my son years ago, to this town's hate. Thought I was protecting you. But I was wrong. The room didn't stop, but it felt like it did." Maya's eyes widened, her breath catching. "Mrs. Kendall, I don't," the old woman said, raising a hand. "You're fighting for something real. Don't let nobody not me. Not this town stop you." She turned, shuffling away, leaving Maya frozen, her hands trembling. Thomas's chest tightened, Mrs. Kendall's words echoing his own fears. He'd run because he thought Maya was better off. But her painting, her light, said otherwise. He stepped forward, his boots loud on the hardwood, and Maya's eyes found his. Her face shifted shock, hurt, hope, all at once. The crowd faded, the jazz a distant hum. And it was just them. Two people carrying too much, standing on the edge. "Thomas," she said, her voice low, unsteady. "You came." He nodded, his throat tight. "Heard you had a show. Didn't want to miss it." Her lips twitched, but her eyes were guarded. 2 weeks. "Thomas." No call, no text, just that damn voicemail. "You think you can just show up?" He stepped closer, his voice rough. "I fucked up, Maya. I ran 'cause I was scared I'd hurt you. Scared I ain't enough. But I'm here, if you'll have me." She crossed her arms, her gaze piercing. "You hurt me already, walking away like I didn't mean shit. Why should I trust you now?" The words stung, but he didn't flinch. "You shouldn't. But that painting, He nodded at the porch light. That's you. Still burnin'. I don't want to put it out. I want to stay. Maya, no more runnin'. Her eyes glistened, but she didn't look away. The jazz swelled, a saxophone crying, and the crowd moved around them, oblivious. Maya stepped forward, close enough that he could smell her perfumed jasmine, like her house. You mean that? She asked, voice soft but fierce. 'Cause I don't do half in. Thomas, I need you present. He held her gaze, his hand reaching for hers, hesitant, then steady. Then, I'm here, he said, his fingers lacing with hers. Present. She didn't smile, but her grip tightened, a silent answer. They stood there, hands locked, the painting glowing behind them, a light against the storm. It wasn't a kiss, not yet, but it was more a promise, raw and real. The moment broke when Lila, Maya's friend, pushed through the crowd, her dreads bouncing. Well, damn. Look who showed up, she said, grinning, clapping Thomas on the shoulder. Took you long enough, delivery boy. Maya laughed, the sound shaky but real, and Thomas felt the weight in his chest ease. Don't scare him off. Lila, she said, still holding his hand. Me never, Lila said, winking. But you two got eyes on you. Mrs. Kendall's talking redemption now. Thomas glanced over, seeing the old woman by the wine table, her face softer, almost proud. He didn't know her story, but her apology had shifted something, like Birmingham itself was exhaling. The gallery buzzed, a buyer approaching Maya, and she squeezed his hand before letting go. Don't vanish, she said, her eyes teasing but serious. Won't, he said, and meant it. Later, outside. The night was crisp, 5 Points South alive with street musicians and bar hoppers. Thomas leaned against the gallery wall, Maya beside him, her red dress stark against the brick. The Vulcan statue glowed in the distance, watching over the city. That painting, he said, voice low. It's you. Ain't it? She nodded, looking out at the street. Started it when you left. Felt like I was losing myself. But that light, it's what I held on to. You, me, Darius. Something worth fighting for. He turned to her, his eyes steady. I'm sorry, Maya, for running, for not believing you. She met his gaze, her voice quiet. I'm still mad, Thomas, but I'm glad you're here. Just don't do it again. Deal, he said, a small smile breaking through. They stood there, the city's pulse around them, and for the first time, Thomas felt like he could stay not just in Birmingham, but with her, back at his apartment. Thomas sat on the couch, the photo of his mom watching him. He pulled out his phone. No new texts from unknown numbers, just one from Maya. Thanks for showing up. Night, Avery. He smiled, the weight lighter, and thought of her porch light, still burning. He didn't know what came next, but he was ready to find out. In Ensley, Maya locked up, the gallery's success a quiet hum in her chest. She checked her phone. Darius's latest video call saved. You're gonna kill it. Aunt Maya. She smiled, then walked to the porch, The light was steady, no flicker, a promise kept. She didn't know if Thomas would stay forever, but tonight, he'd shown up, and that was enough. The Birmingham evening was a warm embrace, the summer air thick with the scent of charcoal and honeysuckle, the sky over Ensley streaked with gold. Maya Williams's backyard buzzed with life. A makeshift family gathered around a rusted grill, the sizzle of ribs and laughter filling the space. At 28, Maya was a woman remade, her red sundress swaying as she flipped burgers, her hair loose, catching the glow of string lights strung across the fence. 3 months had passed since the art show, since Thomas Avery had walked back into her life, his hand in hers a promise against the storm. Now, her bungalow was a home, not just a stopover, its porch light steady, a beacon for the people who'd become her world. Thomas stood by the picnic table, a beer in hand, his flannel sleeves rolled up, grease smudged on his knuckles from tinkering with the grill. At 35, he was still quiet, his scars from Afghanistan and his mom's death etched deep. But his eyes were lighter now. The weight of running lifted. He'd opened a small repair shop last month, fixing radios and lawnmowers in a rented garage off 3rd Avenue, a dream he'd buried until Maya's stubborn hope pulled it free. She caught his gaze across the yard, flashing a grin, and he raised his bottle, a silent, "We're good." The crowd was Birmingham's heart, Javier Morales, Thomas's co-worker, chasing his toddler son, Mateo, through the grass, Lila, Maya's painter friend, sketching on a napkin, her dreads tied with a scarf, Darius, Maya's 10-year-old nephew, visiting from Atlanta, tossing a football with a grin that lit the dusk, and, unexpected, but welcome, Mrs. Kendall, the 80-year-old neighbor who'd once called Thomas trouble, sat in a lawn chair, a plate of cornbread on her lap, her eyes softer than Maya had ever seen. "These ribs are a damn miracle," Javier said, piling his plate, his Mexican accent thick. "Maya, you hiding a chef in there." "Blame Thomas," she said, nudging him. "He's the one who sweet-talked the grill into working." Thomas snorted, sipping his beer. "Sweet talk, my ass. Had to bribe it with lighter fluid." Lila laughed, her pencil pausing. "Y'all are cute. Birmingham's gonna talk. But it's good talk now." Maya glanced at Mrs. Kendall, who nodded, her voice low. "They're talking. All right. But I set 'em straight. You two are stronger than this town's gossip." Maya's chest warmed. The old woman's words, a gift. 3 months ago. Mrs. Kendall's apology at the art show had cracked something open. Her story of losing her son to Birmingham's hate, a bridge to understanding. Now, she was here. Her cornbread a peace offering, her presence a quiet redemption. Darius ran up, football in hand, his eyes wide. "Uncle T, catch," he shouted, tossing it hard. Thomas caught it one-handed, grinning, and tossed it back. The kids' laughter echoing. Uncle T had stuck since Darius arrived, a title Thomas hadn't expected but wore like a badge. "You're spoiling him," Maya said, sliding beside Thomas, her shoulder brushing his. "He's a good kid," Thomas said, his voice soft. "Reminds me of me. Except I was worse." She laughed, leaning into him. "Bet you were a terror. Still are. Sometimes." He looked at her, his eyes steady, the noise of the party fading. "Only with you," The moment held, warm and real, until Javier's son toddled over, tugging Thomas's jeans. Up, Mateo demanded, and Thomas lifted him, the boy giggling as he perched on his shoulders. Maya watched, her heart full, the backyard a patchwork of people she hadn't planned but couldn't imagine losing. As the sun dipped, the party settled, plates stacked, the fire pit glowing. Lila strummed a guitar, her voice low, singing an old folk tune about rivers and home. Darius sat cross-legged, sketching robots with Maya's crayons, while Javier and Maria, his wife, danced slow in the grass. Mrs. Kendall leaned forward, her cane resting, and spoke, her voice carrying over the music. "My boy, James," she said, eyes distant. "He was like you. Thomas, strong, quiet, wanted to fix things. This town took him hate, fear, all of it. I judged you 'cause I was scared. Scared of losing more. But you and Maya, you're fighting for something real. Makes me believe love can win." The yard stilled. Lila's guitar fading. The fire pit crackling. Thomas's throat tightened. His mom's face flashing in his mind. Her voice, "Be brave." Son echoing Mrs. Kendall's. "I'm sorry about your boy," he said, voice rough. "And thank you for seeing us." Maya's hand found his, her grip steady, and she nodded at Mrs. Kendall. "Means a lot, ma'am. Your family now." Mrs. Kendall's eyes glistened, her smile small but real. "Don't make me cry, girl. I got cornbread to protect." Darius looked up, crayon in hand. "Uncle T, you gonna marry Aunt Maya?" The yard erupted in laughter, Javier clapping, Lila whooping. Maya's cheeks flushed, but she grinned, nudging Thomas. "Yeah, Avery, what's the plan?" Thomas's face warmed, but he played along, ruffling Darius's hair. "Kid, you trying to get me in trouble? Ask me in a year." "A year," Maya said, mock offended, but her eyes sparkled. "Better step up your game. Working on it," he said, his voice low, a promise in it. The laughter settled, the party humming again, but the moment lingered, a thread tying them tighter. Later, Thomas found himself under the porch swing, wrench in hand, tightening a loose bolt. Maya joined him, a beer for each of them, her sketchbook tucked under her arm. "You don't stop, do you?" she said, sitting beside him, the swing creaking softly. "Don't like things falling apart," he said, wiping his hands, taking the beer. "Learned that the hard way." She opened her sketchbook, revealing a new drawing, Birmingham skyline, the Vulcan statue glowing, a porch light small but bright in the foreground. "Finished this last night," she said, handing it to him. "It's us." He traced the light, his chest tight. "It's perfect. Maya, you're perfect." "Nah," she said, leaning into him. "We're a hot mess, but we're our mess." He laughed, the sound rare but right, and set the sketch down, his arm around her. The backyard was quieter now. Javier and Maria packing up, Lila helping Darius with his shoes. Mrs. Kendall stood, her cane steady, and waved before heading home. Her cornbread gone. The string lights flickered, the fire pit embers glowing, and Birmingham stretched beyond, its scars and beauty intertwined. "You think we can do this?" Maya asked, her voice soft, looking at the city. "Stay. I mean, through the bullshit." Thomas tightened his grip, his voice steady. "Long as that light's on, I'm staying." She smiled, resting her head on his shoulder. "It's on. Avery. Always." Darius ran over, his robot sketch in hand. "Look. Uncle T. It's for you." Thomas took it, grinning. "Badass robot, kid. You're hired." Maya laughed, pulling Darius into a hug. The three of them a unit, a family not born, but chosen. The city's pulse beat on 5 Point South's neon. Schloss Furnace's ghosts. The 16th Street Baptist Church's quiet strength. Thomas looked at Maya, her eyes bright, and felt it home. Not just a place, but a feeling, built from broken pieces and stubborn hope. The porch light glowed, steady, unyielding, a promise for tomorrow. They didn't know what came next his shop. Her art. The city's eyes, but they'd face it together, one messy, beautiful step at a time. So, my ladies, who's your light when the world's pitch black? Thomas and Maya found theirs. And damn, it's bright. Drop your story in the comments, what's kept you going through the storm. Smash that subscribe button, and let's chase their next chapter. Birmingham's got more tales, and we ain't done yet.